Hello, hello, hello. I'm Andrea Stevens,
And I'm Jeanette Mejias, and we are WADS Women.
where exposure brings strength. Hey, what's up?
What's up? No singing? What's going on?
I know I had to sit for a minute and say, wait, what concert were you at this week that I was singing from my bed as I was watching?
Oh my God, yes. Oh, yes. Can I just share that? I went and saw Christopher Cross at the Westbury Theater, and I went with my bestie. It was like a 3-hour ride, girl. The traffic was insane, but it was worth.
Oh, I didn't know it was that far.
It really isn't. It's only a 2-hour drive from my house, but there were a lot of accidents and all kinds of craziness. And Sundays, I forget how awful it is to travel on a Sunday to New York. Really, like that's just it's a witching hour. We left at 5.
Yeah.
So, and the concert started at 8, and we got there at 8 o'clock, like on the nose. But anyhow, it was fabulous. And the theater was nice because there was no bad seat in the house. Like it was cozy and you felt like you were right
It was
there.
a smaller venue?
Yeah. And
nice.
When he played Sailing, girl, I lost my mind.
I heard you singing. Okay, I was singing. And then I was like, wait, is that Jeanette singing too in her video? You were all in it as you were singing it. And I was like, huh, yeah. And
I tell you,
sailing takes me away to where I'm going. There, I had to say something. I had to sing something.
Yes, it just was great. I mean, this concert clearly was, it was rescheduled a couple of times, because of everything that was happening, the shutdowns. But I'm just happy that we were able to see him and good. Like everybody had a great energy too. Like once it ended, like there was this couple that was walking up, and I just paid her a compliment because I saw she was like dancing,
Yeah.
and we had a really nice exchange, and she was a little emotional, and she said, I can't believe he closed the song with Think of Laura. And I said, oh, I know, I love that song. And she was like, I lost my mother-in-law last year, and her name was Laura. And I was like, oh, I was like, you see,
Laura.
yeah,
And don't cry.
yeah,
Okay.
She'd want it that way.
I know. See, I can't help but to say, singing makes people happy.
It does.
When it brings back memories sometimes too, and sometimes you get sad, but you still feel happy for the music. And so there's so many emotions. I think that I don't know how anybody can be miserable at a concert.
And music is healing. Like whatever music that you enjoy listening to, put it on and just take yourself out of whatever that space is. Like,
you ever dance around? You ever dance around by yourself in the room?
Oh, yes, sister.
If you do not,
tell you,
listen, you don't. If you're not listening, if you're listening and you have never put on the radio and danced by yourself with nobody around, you are missing out. Missing out.
Yes, that's a challenge. We want everybody to just dance.
Yeah, sing your heart out and dance.
Yeah, seriously. Brings you life. It really does. It does. Yeah. But the good thing is that the drive back was only an hour and 5 minutes. So that just goes to show
that's good.
Yeah. But no, it was
thank you for bringing me to that concert, because the songs that I wanted to hear, you went live, so I got to hear.
Yeah. So and I was all flustered because, my favorite song is besides Sailing, Ride Like the Wind.
Oh, yeah. You gonna sing it?
I have to go spare everybody. Oh my God. But I did scream Christopher. Did you hear me at the end of the Facebook Live? I was like, Christopher. Yeah, I'm nuts. And the fact that his name is Christopher, it just makes me out, because my son is Christopher too. So
yeah. Fun.
It is fun. So anyhow, so that was my adventure for the weekend. What was any adventures on your end, or?
I had a garage sale.
Oh,
Yes, I did not sing that outside to people, but yes, I had a garage sale.
Nice.
Garage sale. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't had a garage sale in a long time. Well, yeah, a long time.
Did you have a good turnout?
No, not really. No, I didn't realize Oktoberfest was this weekend here. So I'm guessing that that's why kids had sports in the morning, but I'm sure that they went to Oktoberfest afterwards. So yeah, I mean, I did okay for one day. I did okay, but still, it wasn't like I thought I'd get rid of a bunch of stuff, and I still have it. So,
okay.
Yeah, but it's okay. Whatever.
Yeah, next time.
But my neighbor came to, so it was a multifamily. So we had my friends from around the corner, they came with their stuff. And then my neighbor came down with their stuff. So at the end of the driveway, we had all of us at the end of the driveway. So we got to bond all day, which I don't sit and talk to my neighbors like for that long period of time.
That's nice too.
Yeah. Yeah. And their kids came down and Blake was down and then my friends' kids were there. So there was all of us communicating all day and some neighbors came over that we didn't know, so it was nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was it. And then I was so tired from being on my feet all day and moving all that crap up and down the driveway.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't move on Sunday. I mean, my legs physically.
You have a long ass driveway too, girl.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
Yeah. It's like it's street. It's like street long.
Well, everybody.
I will never freaking forget the first time I went to your house with Ruby and Anthony, which we'll get to see this week. So excited. Our dearest friends. And they're like, oh, let's go by Andrea's. I'm like, all right, cool. She doesn't live too far from here. And we're driving. And I'm like, where are we? What is this? And they're like, her driveway. I'm like, oh, shit. I thought this was a back road, it was like never ending. I'm like, oh my God. And then finally we get to your house, up on a hill. I'm like, oh my God.
It's pitch dark.
Yes.
Yeah. And honestly, like I was like, what was that noise? And I was like, it's either somebody's breaking in or somebody's breaking in or it's a ghost. And I was like, what is going on? What was that noise? The dogs didn't even move.
Anthony was like, no, let's like make sure like they know because like, if people hear noises in the middle of the night, you don't need to be having a bat.
He's a retired cop. He knows that he knows on the other side of that door, he doesn't know what's going to be there.
That's right.
He knows.
He knows the deal.
But yeah, I was like, oh.
Savvy. He knew right away when he went to the door.
Yeah.
Well, we went in the back, you guys didn't hear us, and the dogs didn't flinch, which I was like,
no. And it was well, now that we have the younger one, he's out of control. He hears everything. Yeah. But I had my senior citizens at that time, and they didn't move.
Yeah, it moved. It's raining too.
Yeah. And you're creeping around the house. Yeah.
Yes.
And I thought, is that somebody breaking in? Like, yeah, is that somebody breaking in?
Yeah. That is scary.
Or is it a ghost? Like I was like, what is that noise?
Ghost, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's that could be about, a variety of things, I mean, that's what you think. You think about, immediate break-in or, some spirits are moving around in your home.
And I hoped I was like, it better be a ghost. Oh, it better be.
Have you had any experiences?
And it was you.
Have you had ghost experiences ever?
Yeah, a few weird things have happened. A few strange things occurred, but nothing like where I have not seen a full figure person.
Oh my God.
But I did, I will tell you, after my father died, I went to go get my tattoo. And I went to immediately, it was, I don't know, it was 2 days after he passed. And I said, I'm getting this before I leave Niagara Falls because I don't want to wait and I want to make sure I get it. And so, and I asked him to write something for me that I could tattoo on my, to give to tattoo. I didn't tell him where I was putting it, but, and I wanted him to write it out for me. And he was having trouble a week before he passed, thinking and writing and stuff, but he ended up writing this and I ended up putting it on my arm. But while I was sitting there in the seat, I felt like, I can't even explain the feeling that I had because it was very odd, but I saw him in the corner of my eye, like standing in the bathroom door. But then I turned my head super quick because I was like, my heart started pounding and I turned my head and nothing was there, but I felt like, I felt him there watching. Like it was so crazy.
Like Spirit was there.
Yeah, like I felt him standing. There. I knew the place, like it was just something that.
Now,
yeah.
did you feel like a paralysis, sort of? Because I've heard things like that when people feel like a spirit is near them, they freeze almost, like they can't move.
I felt like I can't explain. Like it was almost like I felt some pressure on my chest. Like I almost felt the pressure on my chest. I felt like my heart started like racing. Like after I felt the pressure, my heart raced and I didn't know if I should look. Like, when you think you want to look and then should I look? And then I did. Like it was like so fast the way I thought of it. And then, but I swear he was standing there. I know he was there. I know he was there because I know how I felt, which is crazy. But my son has seen, I have heard things, I've heard footsteps in this house that I'm in now. I've heard them in the previous home that we were in, but my son, and this is in New Jersey, and my son said, let me paint this picture. Okay. So the house we first moved into in New Jersey, we rented. So my son was 2 when we moved, he was 4. He turned 5. My dog passed away a month after we moved. My dad passed away 2 months after we moved into that house.
Oh my God.
Now, yes. So let me paint this picture. So this house we lived in, I kept thinking, like my son kept saying he hears people talking to him. Like he kept saying
my God, girl.
Like he hears somebody.
It's sense shit.
Yeah. So he would be scared and I'd say, it's fine. It's probably no, right? Because I just figured he has to be present. He has to be. So I kept thinking, okay, well, then my son would tell me, mom, they said, shh, they told me to shh. And he says, and I said, well, were you yelling? And he said, yes. He said, but they said, shh. And so this has happened multiple times. Okay. So now I'm going to go and I heard walking up there as if there was a person walking across the entire landing upstairs. Mm-hmm. And I heard now I wasn't nervous because I thought it was my dad, right? I was like, whatever, I'm not nervous. It's my dad. Okay. Fast forward till we move into this house. Now this is the crazy shit that happened. So we move into this house. Immediately, the fireplace had like black soot up the front of it and it was open. I didn't have my wood pellet stove in there yet. So it smelled, the house smelled like it was like a smoky, fire smell. Mm-hmm. So I said, I gotta clean all this, brick, and we got to take care of all of the vents. So I call somebody to clean out the vents. The guy comes to clean out the vents and he comes from Pennsylvania to clean the vents. His business was in Pennsylvania. Now, I'm only like 40 minutes. Pretty close. Mm-hmm. Super close to PA. So they come over from Pennsylvania. He comes in, he starts bringing his equipment, chatting it up with me. He says, where'd you move from? And I said, oh, we used to live in, Long Valley over there. Now we live over here. He goes, yeah, I grew up in Long Valley. I said, oh, and he says, which street did you live on? And I told him the street and he goes, I grew up on that street. What number? And I told him the number. His face was white as a ghost and his jaw and mouth was just open. And he said to me, are you shitting me? I said, no. And I said, that's where we lived. I said, and I wouldn't just make up an address because we haven't lived here that long. I mean, I don't know many places in
And
New
you
Jersey,
don't know him from that.
right? And right. And he said to me, that was my house. He said,
What?
He said that was my house that I grew up in. I said, are you kidding me? He goes, no. He says, my father built that house. And I said, can I ask you something? And he said, yeah. And I said, did your father pass away in that house? And he said, he collapsed in the house. His heart did stop, but they revived him when the ambulance came. And then he ended up taken to the hospital and he passed away at the hospital. And he said, but I want to tell you, he says, about that, you know, with that house, my parents got divorced, he said, and my father never wanted to leave the house. So when my parents got divorced, my dad didn't just purchase it from, like, he ended up spending more money for the house than he originally did to build it, just because he didn't care about the money. He just wanted to live in that house. He goes, and then towards the end, when he was sick, he wouldn't leave the house. So he wanted the dog there, but he wouldn't move with me to Pennsylvania to my farm. He said he wanted to stay in that house. And so I said, I think I've heard your father in that house. And then I told him about Blake, and Blake was sitting right here, and Blake told him, like, and he was like, he had tears, like, yeah, like it was a whole big thing. But I thought, what are the odds that this guy comes from Pennsylvania to this new house that I live in to clean my vents? And he grew up in the house I lived in. Right. And I lived in that house. Yeah. Isn't that insane? So that was like, okay. And I'm telling you, the footsteps it was clear as day that there was a walking that was clear as day.
I do believe in spirits, ghosts. I believe in that stuff because I know it happens. I mean,
so what have you experienced? I mean, that's one of my stories. I have a few, especially with my mother-in-law, but go ahead, tell me.
I've had a similar experience with my dad. So, you know, as you know, I lost my dad very young. I was almost 4 years old. And and my mom and I at the time lived in a 4-family house that her sister owned, and we lived in upstairs in one of the 4-family, you know, units. And my mom at the time would always say she heard footsteps when she would go to bed. You know, she would feel as if somebody was sitting in the mattress, like it would, you know, like sink in. And she'd be asleep. And she said one time she put her hand over, because she said I used to crawl a lot in her bed at the time. And she would always just tell me, go back to your room. And so when she put her hand over to think she was going to nudge me, she said her entire arm froze ice cold.
Oh boy.
And she couldn't talk. And she felt pressure on her chest. So that's why my jaw dropped when you were saying you were feeling that pressure when you were getting the done. So, because my mom said she felt a pressure, couldn't talk. You know, she just was like, almost like a paralysis sort of. And so she, you know, shared the story from, you know, for as long as I could remember. But I remember my experience. I remember in the kitchen, I was in the kitchen and the lights were off. And I was like this kid who had an imaginary friend, you know, I was an only child, so, you know, as you can imagine. So, my mom always just thought I was just messing around, you know, making up whatever. And I do remember laughing, and my mom said, "What are you doing? Turn on the lights. What are you laughing about?" And I said to her, "Oh, mommy, I'm just laughing at daddy. He's so funny." My mom hightailed out of that. She grabbed me and was like, "We got to get out of here." She went to her sister. My mom's like a little scary cat, you know? And I find that kids don't have fear. And even like when I watch, movies that are related to true stories, like the Conjuring and all other things, that these kids feel spirits or see things and hear things, they're not afraid, and it's really the adults that get all like freaked out. And another time, and that I have two recollections. That was the kitchen recollection, and the other time I was not fully asleep, and but I heard footsteps, and I felt my hair being stroked, and just stroking my hair. And when I opened my eyes, nobody was there.
Yeah.
And that was the same evening that my mom said her arm froze. So I do believe my dad's spirit was there. In our culture, when someone passes away, you light up a candle. And my mom was lighting a candle for him every night. And my mom felt she was coming out of like her mind, because she was just, it was too much. She was feeling things. She felt she was suffocating at night. She thought she was losing her mind. And some woman who was into spirits, I don't know if she was a psychic or what have you,
or medium or something,
or whatever she was, right? She walked in and she said to my mom, "You have to first stop lighting a candle for him." She goes, "He did not want to die. He is very pissed. He is a lost spirit. He's an angry spirit."
Ooh.
Yeah. And my mom was like, of course, when she tells a story, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, but he wasn't like doing anything to hurt you.
No. But it's, I think like my mom just felt so much, like she couldn't sleep. She said she had, one time she said she felt like a pillow was suffocating her. It was just like, you know how when, like a spirit is angry, it opens doors, or things like that. So, just to drive people nuts or whatever, like get out. Like I've seen movies where it's like that spirit's like, get the hell out, I'm gonna do whatever. So it's kind of like that, my mom stopped and they did some kind of cleansing or whatever, but it stopped. It sounds crazy, but it stopped. I mean, I never had any experience. I actually missed it. So I got older. So you got to imagine, I lost him when I was 4. So this was happening when I was around 5, 6 years old.
Yeah.
I also threw up every day for a week at exactly at midnight and was rushed to the ER.
My gosh.
Yes. So the woman was saying that he's going to be doing things because he's just in we don't want to invite that spirit here. We just have to, fare well, like bid him well, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
And uncontrollable fevers too. And I do.
My gosh.
Me in ice tubbed water. I'll never forget that. It's so funny what you remember as a little kid, But I do remember as I started to, when I reached about 9 or 10, that's when it kind of hit me. I didn't have a dad, and I wanted a dad. And I went to private school, so it was they always had a dad's night. It was never like mom night. It's father's night. And my mom used to be like, well, I'll go, or I'll have your uncle go. I'm like, he's not my dad. I want my dad. So I wish I had my mom. That's with that. And I remember saying, why don't I feel him anymore? Like, I know he would laugh with me, and it was to the point that my mom took me to a child psychiatrist because they thought I was losing my mind as well. But they did all the tests and they didn't find anything, and then it just kind of fell on the wayside. So I do believe in that stuff, and sometimes watch these movies, I feel like, oh my God, yes, the spirits. Like I get so oh my God. So when you're telling me about your dad and even your experience, in that first home, oh my God, I get goosebumps just talking about it. So
yeah, well, your experience was traumatic. So any child is going to have, there's something there. Like my son had, after my dad passed, my son had some issues. There was a lot of like uncontrollable crying at random times and the sobbing. And it was like an emotional breakdown. And there was just so much happening. Yeah. And so, and he was young. He was 5. He just turned 5.
Yeah.
You know?
It's traumatic. Yes. And you think children.
It was traumatic for me. You know, so I can't imagine him not understanding, right? He didn't understand.
Well, that's the thing. Kids don't understand. They really don't. Yeah. And I know, like, from, and I have like little snippets of memory. Like I remember my mom would leave me at her sister's house and I would be at the window. And at the time, my dad, when he was alive, he had a Toyota Corolla. And back then, in the early 70s, they were Matchbox cars, really. And my aunt said she would sit and cry because I would wave in the window and say, Daddy, stop, come get me, like that kind of stuff. So for years, I'm trying to attribute it, a lot to my mom too, trauma as well, because I was the kid that couldn't wrap my head around death. Like, why did he die? Why was he taken away? Like, I didn't understand death. And then it wasn't until I got much older, then I came to, an understanding. I came to terms with it, and but it took me a long time, to get there.
Yeah. Well, and he obviously stayed with you after he left. So hey, I mean, he was still there. So that was, you were probably trying to figure out what the hell is this now, right? Why? I don't understand this change, because you still saw him, even though other people did it, right? So it was like, you were fighting with whatever was going on there with the before and after. I mean, and as an adult, it's different, right? We hope, like, like I think, like, I hope, like, oh, I hope I would see him. Like, I hope, you know what I mean? And I mean, that's just,
and it kind of reminds me of the movie Ghost, right? That's like the famous movie with Demi Moore, Patrick Swayze. It's a love story tied to that. I remember, like, all she wanted was one time to be with Sam. So,
well, if somebody goes flying across the room, then I know my dad's here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know. I think that
I'd love to have some guests come on that have had paranormal experiences. I think it's so much fun. I mean, I do. I think it's so much fun to talk about and hear stories. Some scary, you know what I mean? But I feel like
I would love to hear, somebody living through that, or lived through that experience.
Or any experience. Yeah. What happened, So if you're listening, what happened to you? What happened to you? What experiences have you had? We'd love to open up this conversation and have maybe, maybe have 2 people on that have different experiences. I would love to talk to people that, that have a story. So if you're listening, speak up, message us, email us. Yes. We want to hear your story. We love ghost stories. As long as you keep them in your house, we love the ghost stories.
Right. And I have one of my best friends, she'll always say, the owner of that home that she's in, she says, oh, sometimes we just tell her, oh, whatever she names her, whatever her name was. Oh, it's okay. Everything is fine. Like, and I'm like, are you serious? You say things like that? She's like, oh yeah, because she's just visiting. And I'm like,
that's what I told my son to say though when he was young, because he was
like,
2.
Yeah, you have to let them know you're acknowledging that. Yeah, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So
yeah. So I told my son at 2 when we lived in Ohio, I said, you just have to tell them it's okay to go home now. They can go home. And it's okay to go, that you'll watch the house and it's okay to go. And that's what I told him to say. So, and he did. He listened.
Yeah.
And he didn't seem scared. So after I said that, he wasn't scared.
Wow.
But I mean, I've even said it in the middle of the night. I have heard footsteps that were in my room next to my bed. And I have said, please go. Please do not do this right now. I am tired. I am tired. Please do not do this. Please go.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And I even said, Dad, if that's you, I got to get some sleep. Because I would hear them so distinct as if someone was walking right next to the, and
freaked me out though.
I would wake up in a dead sleep. I've also felt my leg being touched.
Oh, hell no, girl. You see?
Yeah. And so, yeah, there's a few things that have gone
Oh.
on. When my mother-in-law, when she passed, the day it was her funeral, and we went home, and I remember going to the bathroom downstairs in the house. It was her house. I went to the bathroom downstairs. My husband and his cousin were outside talking, and I was in the house by myself, and I was in the downstairs bathroom where she never went because all of her stuff was upstairs and in that bathroom. But and his dad used to use that bathroom when he was alive. So that bathroom I was downstairs in, I went to the bathroom, went to wash my hands. It was like a spray. I didn't feel the wet. It was the smell, perfume blew across my face. Strong. I mean, strong as if I was coughing. That's how strong it was. Ooh. And I knew she was there. I actually went over, I went back upstairs. I went to a picture that was in the living room, and I looked at the picture and I said, "Are you here?" I said, "Are you here? Are you here with me?" Because it was so strong. And then I'll tell you one other thing. Then we moved back to Arizona, and we were there. And then we moved to California. And in California, I smelled her perfume again, was like a whiff there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then I moved to Ohio. And when I was in Ohio, when I was there, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was up sitting on the floor with the dog, with my Mastiff, and I couldn't sleep. And everybody was sleeping upstairs, and I was downstairs by myself. And all of a sudden I had this like complete breakdown of tears and crying. I don't even remember what I was crying about. I don't even know what I was thinking in my head. I just had this breakdown of tears. And then I looked at my phone because I don't know why I grabbed my phone. I was going to go upstairs, and I looked at my phone, and it was the day she passed. At the time she passed, it was on my phone. Wow. And I didn't even realize it was the day. I had no idea because it was after midnight. So it was like 12:20, or like it was like 12:20 that day. So it just turned October. It was October 12th. Wow. And so it just turned October 12th. So and I told my husband the next day that I couldn't believe that happened. And then I'll tell you one more thing before we go and leave this podcast, because I want people to come on and tell me their stories. But my husband after his dad passed and his mom passed 2 years apart, he went through his dad's files in the office. He was going through some things, and he put his hand in the box. He was kind of thumbing through, but he put his hand in the box, and the light switch went out when he grabbed whatever he grabbed in the box. God. Wait, listen. The light switch went out. He pulled out what he had in his hand, and it was a scan of his dad's brain tumor. Oh my God. Yes. And the light went back on. What? So strange. Yeah. And he was like there. My dad was there. Like he was there for sure. So he didn't even know what he had his hand on. So it's so strange, the things that happen along the way that you think about now. Like I almost forgot that story. And my husband could tell it better because it's his story, and I'm just throwing it out there on this podcast. But it was just an experience that was like, whoa, what is going on right now?
I feel that, when you lose a loved one, there is a connection, that you have, or you feel them in some way, or they visit you, and they visit in different ways. I mean, people have a lot of, for me, especially if I've lost someone that I care about recently, and there's a cardinal visiting, I say, oh, I got my visitor today,
Yeah.
And it's just things I think, as much as, we talk about these experiences that could be like kind of like, wow, like that's like, you know,
Yeah.
freaky. But at the same time, it's so nice to also kind of feel,
It brings
even though
peace.
they
I
left,
feel peace.
yeah, even though they're not in a physically here,
Right.
but knowing that something just brought a memory, or you have a feeling of knowing that the person you love
Hmm.
arrived, like I think that's just like also
Or they're still
cool.
present, right? They're still
Right.
there. They're not
Yeah.
gone. They're still
Right.
there. And then there's that peace that they're still there,
Yes.
and then you got that one little snippet of
Yeah.
attachment to them still that's still there,
Yeah.
and yeah, I believe all that too. I do. I believe all that. I think that, cardinals that, these, it's, yeah, I could tell you stories of
I
different
know.
things
I
of
mean, I think,
cardinals, and there's so much I think that's gone on, and as you get older, right
yeah.
now, as you get older, there's like all these things that you think about that have happened in your life. Um, but yeah, you know, but you weren't the ghost at my door that one night.
Yeah.
You were not. You were not. But yeah, I love these stories. And I do like to hear how people, they're still attached to their loved ones that are gone,
Mhm.
friends, family that are still there. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Woo.
I know. It's good stuff.
Yeah. It brought back a lot right there. I just
I
brought
know.
back a lot.
I feel like a whole lot of
And I talk really
floodgates.
fast. I
Well,
get,
because you you're in that moment. I feel like, even for me, when I retell certain things from my childhood, which I don't really often share it a lot,
mm-hmm.
but when I do, I almost can see myself as that little girl.
Yeah.
Like, I literally see myself, what I'm wearing, what I'm doing, certain,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like smells, come to
Yeah.
mind. Like it's amazing what your brain actually can, you know, bring back up, you know.
Right.
So,
Right. And take you back to that time where you were
yeah,
at, what you were
it feels
doing.
like a
Yeah.
movie, like a time
Yeah.
capsule that you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I feel like, you know, sometimes it's a catch 22, right? Or a double-edged sword. Sometimes it brings up pain, of
Mhm.
losing that person, but then at the same time it brings a memory, like, because sometimes, that's part of also healing too, because we're always in a healing place, right? So
Right. Right.
yeah, this was
Right.
so good. I'm so glad we talked about this, and I appreciate you sharing that about your dad. Like
Well,
that's
you
great.
too. You don't talk about your dad a lot because you were so young, right? So to
Now,
have
yeah,
something like that, yeah, to have this, I mean, even though it's a little freaky, but at least, but it brings back, it brings back the time you were with your mom after that, and what happened, and
I
and
can't.
that's something that you don't talk about because
No,
some of it
right.
you might not remember.
And I think too, like my mom really had like a very hard marriage. Like it just wasn't easy for her with my dad. And so her memories are not really like rainbows and roses, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
My dad definitely was a player, and he was a party guy, and he was not ready to, really assume a life, having a wife and a child and all the responsibilities that come with it. And it's funny because, when my mom, prior to her getting sick, sometimes she will share stories about my dad, or like some experiences that were not so great.
Mhm.
And I'm like, Mom, that's like 40, I don't know, like 48 years ago. Like, you
Yeah.
gotta let that go. Like what is going on here? Like, you talk about that like it just happened like last year. She's like, I get so upset. I'm like, Mom, you see, this is what holds you back. And she doesn't want to hear it. She like shuts me down. And, you know, it's funny because I think a lot of the times, you know, I'm laughing because me and her are polar opposites. But a lot of times she would say, I reminded her a lot of my dad, which made a lot of sense why we kind of clashed, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, I tell her, I said, listen, I get it, you know, I understand, you know, but you have to make peace with that, you know, because it's been a long time to kind of carry that. So anyhow, but I'm glad she said all those stories because, as you know, my mom lives with Alzheimer's now, and these are stories she can't really articulate back to you anymore. So, you know, so it's all good. I think there was a reason for all that repetitiveness for all throughout my, you know, childhood and adult years where I was like, OMG, please stop. Like, you know, so, but it's all good. You know, I believe that, you know, our loved ones are guardian angels. I know my dad looks out for me. I always say, you know, I know that I got a lot of people up there who's really, you know, protecting me, my family.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to honor, you know, memories.
It is. I think so too. And I think, you know, remembering is healthy.
Absolutely.
Keep that brain working.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I look forward to seeing you for dinner this week.
Yes, dinner this week. We have a guest next week. Yes.
Yeah,
we are rocking October, the beginning of October. Yes.
Yes, that's right. We have a guest coming in October, and I can't believe October is already going to be here in a few days. Is that not crazy?
I know. I keep looking at the date going, is it really the 28th, 29th? Is it really?
It's zipping by, but I'm excited for things that are happening, you know, for us and, you know, for the podcast. And I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for tuning in. And remember, you're listening to Web's Women,
where exposure brings strength.